guess, the idea of actually putting our ELPs in here in terms of due dates and other things. And we're looking at workflows within, and we'll get into that discussion later. But
Thank you.
no problem.
So that's another benefit of it, is the calendar. Anything else right now? Yes?
I think you answered that, Shane. Like, let's say in math department on Tarpon Springs campus, within which I work. Right now, faculty, like, well, I put all my schedule in, my teaching schedule, office hours, and then I share it with my administrative assistant. So it's like, should I keep doing that in Outlook and sharing, or maybe transition that idea to Sharepoint? So, I mean, I wonder which one would be more effective long run.
I think personally it's going to be a combination of both, but instead of me having 9 different calendars to understand what's going on within my department, I'll have mine, and then I'll have CCIT. I won't need Sharon's or Perry's or Nancy's necessarily anymore. I'll have my relevant information in my calendar, and then anything that I would need to know within my department would be in CCIT.
Sharepoint.
The SharePoint, yeah, the SharePoint you might want to look at setting something up for your discipline.
Right.
So all of
As a
your math
department.
professors are out there and what their office hours or office duty hours are.
See, I'm thinking from the perspective of my administrative assistant.
Right.
See, I mean, what I want to take home with me from here.
Yeah,
So maybe we should make a department SharePoint calendar.
that would be,
And
that
then we
would
should
help
bring up
her out.
layers of, one faculty member. Where do I find Dr. Rajaram? Where do I find Chirakios? Where do I?
And she
At
would
this
only,
time. Yeah,
she would only have to have one place to go looking for it as well.
very good.
So that's what you're trying to do, is save time as well.
That's good.
Okay. Anything else before I turn it over for the LP process? Is there anything else? I mean, and just keep, of course, asking questions as we go. You need to know this is a work in progress. You know, as I told you, it's only been up a couple of weeks, and we've been adding to it. I've been spending my weekends trying to figure out permissions, and once I get that set, then I want to. I was afraid to do anything for our session today. I said I'll clobber it, and nobody will be able to get to it while we're giving a demo.
Did you want to, again, this being a little more advanced, that we are allowed workflows within this SharePoint for our policies and procedures? Did you want to go into that, or not really? I didn't know if this was
It's
SharePoint.
probably something I said. What? Go ahead. Give me a hint.
Well, no. I guess in SharePoint, since this is going a little bit further, right now what we're doing is we're dumping information into SharePoint, but it's a much greater product than that. Even if we don't go into custom programming, we actually have the ability to keep track of tasks for individual faculty members or admin staff. But in addition to that, we actually have the ability to create workflows, which are basically taking our policies and procedures that we might have within our group and actually automating those processes, automating the process of, hey, I'm done, who's next in this step? And it automatically notifies that individual, keeps track of each step individually. So it's a history as well. But it helps, and you'll see in the ELP process how we're actually starting that process. We're not quite into the workflows yet, but the possibilities of this are just absolutely incredible.
Shane, so it's kind of like an application of Microsoft Project, if you've ever worked on for scheduling.
Ironically,
Project Lite or something. Kind of.
the Project 2010 actually is now required to operate within SharePoint. So yes, I mean, the project server, I should say, because of the workflow aspects of SharePoint.
With better tracking.
Much better.
Task tracking. Because
Yes.
that's always something I used to work, as a consultant. I manage my projects with Project.
Yep.
And I always would hit a stumbling block if something Project just wouldn't help me track.
Yeah.
So it sounds like this has got better task.
Absolutely.
Tracking,
And one of the great things
management.
about it, if you use Microsoft Project Server 2007, it was a disaster. I mean, it just
Right.
didn't work well. Now with 2010, they're taking advantage of the platform of SharePoint that is tried, true, successful, and it's much more successful in terms of stability.
One of the things we really looked at too, this ELP has really been something that I've wanted to get my teeth into for a long time, because we do a lot of ELP. We have a lot of technical people that come in either with certificates or years of experience. I mean, and if you ever talk to somebody who works in IT, if they've worked in IT for 20 years, they know everything about technology. So now you have to make them prove that. So this is what we do with the ELP process, is we actually make them, be held accountable. This is accountability time when we start looking at this process. So what happens when you get things, I should say a process, that gets passed from hand to hand to hand, there's always issues with things either falling through the cracks or where are we in the process. You'll get a faculty member call and say, what happened to student Johnny Jones? He fell off the face of the earth. Now we have to go back through paperwork, make phone calls, ask a staff member, notify the student. Well, what we're finding is that sometimes when it gets to the point where they have to make a payment, they don't make the payment for whatever reason. So now that's where it stopped. Another thing could happen, and I could say this never happens in my department, but a faculty member falls off the face of the earth and the student is waiting for their reply. That happens too. So I mean, now it's kind of, where are we? Everybody's backtracking, looking at pieces of information. So when we started to talk about what we might want to use as our first process, we said, let's try putting the ELP up so that we can actually have something that, even if it's not a true workflow at this point in time, because we activated the tasks, not the workflow. We did the tasks on this, and that was because we were giving that try this first and then work it into workforce, work management. I said, okay, so that's why we tried the tasks. So now you're going to see how we're passing the ELP process from hand to hand and our tracking mechanisms, if you will, of where it is at all points in time and all of our paperwork. And so I'm going to turn this over now to Terry and Nancy, who are going to give you the information on ELP. Feel free to keep asking questions because, that's fine.
Okay, this here is our ELP page, and as Sharon was speaking to, the whole ELP process and percentages for each step, what percentage is completed, is right here on the front page. So anyone who's wondering what am I supposed to do next, it's right here. And this was Shane's idea to put this out front here, and I think it's a great idea because it's real quick. You can go to and find out where you're at. So in the ELP process, the first thing that happens is I receive an email from Rose Miglina, and she lets me know that a student is wanting to start the ELP process. As soon as I receive that email, the first thing I do then is to email the student and let them know what the course description is for the course or courses that they're wanting to ELP. And then once I've emailed them that information and let them know, please look over the course description and decide whether or not you truly want to go through this, because sometimes once they see everything they have to do, they're like, well, maybe I'll just take the class. So send them that email, and then the next thing I do is fill out the experiential learning program preliminary evaluation. At this point, it would not have the name of the assessor or the phone number in it. It would just go to Nancy with just the information on the student and the course. Then I send the email to, I then would task to Nancy, and we have the task is in a separate location. And the task will come up and it will let Nancy know at that point in time, this would say Nancy right here. And she will know, it'll give her an alert, she gets an email, and it lets her know that we're ready to start this off. Nancy.
Once I receive the email notification, I will go out to the document library and click on the preliminary form for that student. See what course it is they want to test out of. Then I will go into PeopleSoft. There are several things I need to check. I need to check to see whether they're currently enrolled, if they've ever attempted that course before, how many courses they have already completed through experiential learning process, and determine for our department, whether or not they're going to be able to even attempt the process based on the number of courses they're allowed to ELP, which in our case is 50% of the courses within the major or 50% of the support courses. Then I need to check for their home campus to help determine which instructor will be doing the experiential learning process with that student. Then I will actually add their name, the faculty member's name, to the preliminary form from a pool of faculty based on their credentials and on a rotation process. If we have more than one instructor who teaches that particular course, we will rotate it out. After that form, the name has been put in, I will automatically mark the portfolio evaluation. All of our students are required to provide a portfolio of information. Even if they don't have to take a test, they don't have to do projects, that will be determined by each instructor. But they all must do the portfolio because that is set up for auditing purposes, that we can document why we actually gave that student credit for experience, for previous learning knowledge. Some of our students come in, as Dr. Setterlind said, with industry certifications. They do not receive credit automatically for a course if they have an industry certification. They must go through this experiential learning process, and they are also required to provide that portfolio. Okay, after I have actually put in that information, if I find that a student cannot do it, say they've already attempted the CGS 1545 and had a W in the class, that's considered an attempt. So then what I would do is type in down here a reason why they cannot do it. And then I will actually save this in SharePoint, or I'll save it as a document, upload it back to SharePoint, and then from there, we will go down to tasks. And at this point, what I will do is edit the item. I will assign it to Terry again. I will change it and put Terry's name in here. My name is in there at this point in time. I will change the percentage based on that front page of all of our tasks that we're doing, what that percentage is, so that we know what progress we have made on that. And then I will add notes down here saying that I have sent it to Terry, form has been assigned, my name and the date. And then just click save. Automatically, an email will be sent to Terry notifying her that the next step needs to take place.
And then I will pull up the form again, and it will have the information that Shane Hamilton is the instructor that's going to be performing the assessment, and I will put in his phone number there, and then I will save it back to SharePoint and then go into the tasks, and I would then would edit the item and then assign it to Shane. And if you click on this little person right here, it looks it up. I didn't put in his full name. And then, oh, come on. Everyone's thinking it's too. Get it in there correctly, it'll then underline. Then it knows to go ahead and notify Shane by email, and I will change the percentage As soon as I save it, it will notify Shane by email, letting him know that it's now his